Brainstorming is a technique for solving problems that involves spontaneous contributions and fast responses from everybody participating. Brainstorming is a great way to work through many ideas quickly. It really works best when it's done with unrestrained free association. It's a process that creates chaos, but then you make order out of that chaos. Setting a time limit on the session before even starting limits yourself to about 30 to 45 minutes, and that keeps your brainstorm session from disintegrating into being a lot of meaningless babble. Brainstorming is really best done in groups, but you can do it by yourself. You really need to have somebody as a leader and somebody else to take notes. Use this at the beginning of a project and then try it again at some point when you feel stuck. But remember to set those time limits. It is really difficult to adjust ourselves to thinking and exploring in a completely new way. We just want to use the techniques we've already known, and we want to approach problem solving the same way all the time. And we have some preconceived idea of what our possible solutions are going to be, and that takes the fear out of starting a project because we're familiar with what we've already come up with. But sticking to only what we know puts limits on our creativity and usually results in something that's pretty obvious and mundane. Opening up a new territory of possible solution depends on being able to think beyond the conventional or the obvious. Your objective should be exploring new associations, seeing how you work within familiar parameters. We may be familiar with this little puzzle to connect all 9 dots with 4 straight lines without lifting your pencil off the page. If we limit our usual way of thinking, connecting the dots as if they were in a box, we're not going to get the right solution. This solution is to connect the dots by drawing lines that go outside of our preconceived box. The design of the multiprocessor inside a computer is another example of thinking outside the box. A computer's processing time was cut in half when engineers decided they could use 2 processors instead of just 1. Make thumbnail sketches. Now remember when I said you had to start off by making 4 little drawings of your placemats and don't put details in? That's a thumbnail. Thumbnails are great tools. They're an easy way to work ideas out. You use squiggly lines or horizontal lines. You use those to indicate density and position of lines of type. The heavier the weight of the line, the bolder the typeface it represents. You use thumbnails to indicate conceptual directions for your design. They can be analytical. They can lean to metaphoric, where images create meaning through their combination and what they're placed next to. Thumbnails need to be small. Thumbnails should be simple. They need to use gestural lines for people and solid forms for basic geometric shapes and horizontal lines to represent type. The idea isn't to create perfect little drawings. The idea is to create rapid drawings that put down ideas. You can do the same thing with your laptop or an iPad. The point is to jot down the ideas as quick as they come to you so you can have those handy when you start to create your actual designs. Another way to get ideas is to use the random word technique. It associates words with ideas. So imagine you're working on a website design for a hardware store. You randomly pick a word, and let's say that word is telephone. A telephone doesn't have anything to do with the hardware store. That doesn't make any difference. It's the technique that matters. What does matter is that you consider the meaning of the words. In this case, the 2 roots of the word telephone. Tele refers to transmitting over a distance. Phone refers to sound and language. Clarifying the meaning. Telephone, which is the device to transmit a human voice over a distance. Thinking about this definition leads us to the following chain of ideas. Transmitted voice, distance, making connections. The chain begins to evoke ideas for the hardware store's website. If we bring the idea of making connections to a hardware store, we can imagine ideas being paired, like a hammer with a nail or a can of paint with a paintbrush. You can worry later about how you might make this concept visually concrete, but right now you want to concern yourself with making these associations. Then try choosing another random word and see where its meaning and ideas lead you in terms of that website for that hardware store. You may discover something completely unexpected and stimulating. Using random words forces you to explore new ideas. The entire world is fair game for random words and associations. Verbs and adjectives can produce surprising results. Be creative, be open, embrace the randomness. The words people use to tell stories or express their feelings or make an appeal can lead to associations that produce meaningful ideas. This poster by designer Laura DiMartino was inspired by a Hurricane Katrina survivor who recalled his last moments with his wife as she was being swept away by the floodwaters. He said, "I tried to pull her but was too weak. She looked into my eyes and said, 'Hardy, let go. Take care of the kids. If I could have done anything in my heart or my power to save her, I would have. I'm lost. That's all I had.'" Hardy's words triggered ideas for DiMartino that led her to create a poster with a single human portrait. In this work, one person's silhouette represents many people. One tear became the symbol to represent the many tears triggered by the tragedy. She created a visual analogy between tears and the floodwaters, and it resonates because of the irony of New Orleans also being known as a port city. The emphasis created by the solid silhouette makes the poster's composition work quite well. The viewer gets drawn in by the contrast between the smaller water droplets and the single tear, causing an emotional response. The hurricane survivor's words triggered ideas that DiMartino translated into a visual form. Montage is something that's often confused with collage because both involve pasting things together onto a single surface. Collage, however, is an additive process. Montage is actually reductive. With montage, you choose images to express the essence of an idea. The technique works best when you limit yourself to combining 2 images at a time. If you try to combine more than 2 images, it can be hard to decipher. In the Soviet propaganda poster for World War II, the danger in disguise, a wolf identified clearly with a swastika, is revealed under sheep's clothing. This same montage technique can be used to solve complex design problems. You can use it to promote or explain any event or service or product by using odd combinations to convey the meaning in a surprising way. Remember, after you've created your idea, to walk away and take a break. When you come back, you'll be looking at it again with fresh eyes, and you'll be able to find problems easier and make corrections if you need to. Carry a notebook or a sketchbook around with you, or at least carry a pencil so that you can use napkins or paper towels if an idea happens to hit you when you're out. Drawing pads on your cell phone work really well too. Keep an eye out for happy accidents that happen in your sketches. Instead of being unfortunate, sometimes these accidents can reveal ideas that otherwise would have been overlooked. It might seem strange that an error could lead to a good design direction, but inventions are just filled with examples. Did you know that Goodyear spent years of research trying to find ways to make rubber strong and elastic? He didn't come up with the right formula until he accidentally spilled sulfur into the rubber, and that was vulcanization. Inventor Arthur Fry found a glue that wasn't quite sticky enough, so eventually he put it on a coating on a bookmark, and that turned into post-it notes. Happy accidents are not perfect, but they can create a nice contrast to the flawless designs that we create on our computers. Sometimes you just have to do something that's completely wrong and politically incorrect. Something that is just downright awful, but it may have a grain of truth in it that we can take and turn around into something else. There's memes in Facebook that are really just plain wrong because of the coronavirus, and they're using a battle of Corona beer, which is not even related. But they're funny. And it's silly, but the sale of Corona declined during COVID because people associated the name with the coronavirus. That's kind of crazy, isn't it? So step back, take a break, let things happen. You'll find a way to make a great design. Creativity is a complicated and mysterious process. There are times when ideas are just going to pop into your head, and other times when coming up with ideas is a horribly grueling process with an awful amount of work. You can be proactive in developing powerful ideas, or you can settle for things that are less than inspiring solutions. Establish a comfortable work environment so that you can focus on creating and not on settings that distract you or inhibit you. Surround yourself with objects that hold memories and symbolize experiences that you've had that can influence the designs you make. Brainstorming can generate a wide variety of ideas. Do that. Work on creating thumbnails. Thumbnails allow you to create wide varieties of visual ideas. Create montages. Create collages. Embrace the accidents. The goal is to get to the point where you have enough ideas to begin identifying, weighing, and categorizing those ideas that are worthy of refining.